Well, today's going to be a little different kind of video than I like to make. I like to be in the garage. I like to be around the Corvette itself. But it's wintertime. It's cold, and that's not where I want to be right this second. So we're going into the studio. But today I want to talk about the L98. The L98 engine, as you've seen in almost anything I show, I love looking at that motor. I think it's beautiful. It came out in '85 and it stayed all the way to '91, so 6 years of the L98, getting a little bit better each year, and that is a heck of a motor. You know, of course, the ZR1, when that came out with the Lotus, Evan made awesome motor, really set the world on fire for the C4 Corvettes. There's no question about it. But when it came out, it went to do a record test. The record test was to beat the 24-hour endurance test, which is stood for 50 years. Now, if you haven't seen that in the Corvette history here and so forth, I got a little video I want to share with you that shares the highlights of that event. You actually go on their website at the National Corvette Museum and really learn a lot about it. But here's to introduce the people to it that has not seen it and not have aware that the L98 was in that group with the ZR1. So let's take a look at that, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
In 1989, the C4 Corvette achieved an impressive feat that etched its name in automotive history: the world record endurance run. Let's dive into this thrilling story of this remarkable achievement. The record to beat was set in 1940 by Ab Jenkins, who achieved an average speed of 160.18 miles per hour during a 24-hour endurance run. For nearly half a century, this record stood unbroken, despite attempts by other manufacturers like Ford, Mercedes, and Audi. Stuart Hayner, an endurance racer, speculated that the ZR1 Corvette might have the power to surpass this 50-year-old milestone. He discussed this idea with John Heinrichs, the manager of Corvette development at the time, who was also an experienced endurance racer. Both have raced Corvettes under the guidance of legendary Corvette racer Tom Morrison. Miniker provided a ZR1 that was used in development for further on-track testing. The GM design team thoroughly examined the ZR1 durability for this grueling 24-hour test. The team also located a suitable destination at which to attempt their record-breaking run. In addition to putting a ZR1 on the track, it was also decided that a 1989 L98 coupe would take the track as well in search of its own place in history. The ZR1 and L98 C4 Corvette remained stock for the most part. Any modification were minimal and intended to bolster the vehicle's safety and durability. The most notable of the changes made to the cars was the installation of a 48-gallon fuel cell and the replacement of 3.54 gears with 3.07 and the slight lowering of the front end. Both the ZR1 and the L98 were given final inspections, and the track was given a last-minute inspection with a warm-up lap. At 9:56 a.m., both cars left the starting line of the Fort Stockton Firestone test track. Both cars were running flawlessly, and pit stops that occurred at intervals of approximately every 80 minutes revealed no issues. At the 6-hour mark, 5 individual FIA records had been beat. The 100, 500, and 1,000-kilometer records were now credited to the L98 Corvette as well as the 1- and 6-hour records. With these milestones achieved, the L98 returned to the pits, where it was loaded for immediate transport to the Geneva Auto Show. Meanwhile, the ZR1 continued on to break the 24-hour speed endurance record. Finally, at 9:55 a.m., the nearly 50-year-old 24-hour world land speed record was finally conquered, as team leader Jim Morrison pulled into the pits. As they reached the 24-hour mark, the car had run 4,200 miles around the track so far. This left the crew with 800 miles shy of the 5,000-mile record set by Mercedes C111. The decision was made to go for it, and the run continued. At 28 hours, 26 minutes, and 12.426 seconds after the historic run begun, it came a victorious conclusion. All 3 world records were broken and multiple FIA international records. Today, the 24-hour world land speed record ZR1 remains on display at the National Corvette Museum, where it has been since the facility opened in 1994.
As you can tell from the video, The L98 really held its own out there on the track. When it came up and beat the FIA records that it was out there, like the 100K was 172 miles per hour. We'll go by miles per hour. Nobody understands kilometer. 500K was 171.87, you know, and 1,000K was 170 miles an hour. And the 1 hour lasted for 174 miles an hour for an hour. And get this, for 6 hours, that made an average run of 170 miles an hour. Think about that. That is that same motor that I have pretty much, and the same motor that many of us have before the ZR1. Now the LT1 came out, when the L1 came out, that was a good motor, no problem, but there was no record keeping to show that. The important part here is to understand that the L98 was no slouch. It was a solid and is a solid motor today, without a doubt. So sometimes you hear this, well, that years weren't so fast because of the pollution and so forth. Well, sure, because of the pollution and so forth, held down a tiger, because it's a tiger. I mean, 170 miles an hour is really, really fast. And to be able to keep that up for 6 hours, that's a real tribute. Now, let alone the ZR1, what a production car that was. Coming off the line and doing that kind of speed for that length of time and having those kind of drivers go through that, that's why you got to go to the National Corvette Museum and see the actual thing, get the interviews and all that. This is my only way to show you so I could talk to you about it at the same time. But the exciting part of the whole entire thing is they beat those records, and I understand they beat records lasted until I think 2012, and it was beat by Volkswagen, if my facts are correct here. If not, let me know in the comments. 2012, but the Volkswagen company made a vehicle to do this. They didn't take one off the show line. I understand that, if that was the case. So that's not as big a deal as taking one out of the showroom or taking one right off the floor and going out there and doing that kind of thing. The other things you'll learn about when you go on there, they did do some tires changing because they had to get the tire from Goodyear that would be able to stand this for a time of day, and other prep things like that. But essentially, other than the 48-gallon gas tank on both vehicles, and of course that's so they didn't have to stop so much and go the length, and the tires, there wasn't a whole lot of changes other than the rear end had a different gear in it so they could get these miles per hour. But that was my goal today. I wanted to just show you the feel good about all us L98 motor people out there that we're proud of that engine. It has done great, and hopefully you're having some great success. Not that you should go 170 miles an hour or even less. And I know that my 85 was geared to be able to go 150 off the showroom and out. That's fast. That's fast today. That's fast years ago, and at the time in 85 and the years we're talking about. Wow, they're a great car. I love them. Needless to say. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you got a little fun out of this video and something may have not known. Okay, see you next time.